Bonjour Isabelle. Hello Isabelle, how are you today?
I am great, thank you, Pierre. How about you?
I am feeling awesome. I'm feeling great because we're going to spend some time together. And it is the first time that I'm doing check-in, and you are my first guest.
Wow, what an honor.
The honor is mine.
Happy to be here with you, Pierre.
Me as well, me as well. So thank you. I have a few questions to ask you for people who are wondering what is the hospitality industry about, what kind of uh, commitment it requires, what strengths, what desires you had joining the hospitality industry, because you've been in this industry for quite some time, and I'd like to say almost since you're born, you've been in the industry. So, you know,
I
you have a
recognize
very
I recognize the French flattering here.
well, it's true though, because we're
But
going to
yes,
learn, right? We're going to learn about your past, what you've done, how you arrived in San Francisco, because you're not born in San Francisco. Very few people are born in San Francisco.
that's true.
But we're going to look at, understand who you are, what you've achieved here in the Bay Area, because most people in the Bay Area know who you are, and you are definitely a leader here.
I'm
And
not sure about that.
well, I think you are. So I feel very privileged to have you. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start with a very few simple questions, and then we're going to go to the toughest one.
Ooh, okay.
Woo! So my first question is, Isabelle, where are you from? When did you start to be in the hospitality industry? And yeah, let's start with this.
Okay, sounds good. So I am from the Alsace region in France, northeast at the border of Germany and Switzerland. It's about a half hour from the first German town, close to Freiburg, etc. So it's the wine country, white wines mostly, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris. It's a beautiful region, and yeah, so that's where I am from.
Good. Let me ask you a question. Do you miss the Riesling, or is the one in California does it for you, or from Oregon or Washington, D.C.?
Well, I have to say that we have really good California wines. I think a lot of regions now in the country are doing a great job with winemaking. So,
Good. So
yeah.
you're not missing it too much. It's okay.
I'm a red wine lover. I
Oh,
drink both white and red, but I really like red wine. My mother is from Burgundy,
oh,
so
okay, good.
maybe there's something there.
Good. So, so I know a little bit about yourself. Let me ask you, have, do you know about the restaurants? Do you know about the restaurant business?
A little bit. um,
Uh,
well, yes,
I'm waiting.
a little bit, yes. My again, staying within the family here, my dad was a chef. He was a yeah, a great chef, and my parents had a restaurant in a small town, but he was a Michelin star chef. So I was very lucky to grow up eating some pretty yummy things, and sort of stayed with me. I obviously enjoy both food and wine. And so I sort of find myself in a place where we have such an abundance of great food and good wines. Um, so, yeah.
Did did you ever think of staying in France and being part of the Michelin star restaurants? And
No,
being
I
part?
didn't actually. That's an interesting question because you would think that perhaps that would have been sort of a normal following. But at the time, I really wanted to travel and explore the world. And honestly, you know, when I saw my parents in their day-to-day work, to me, it seemed like they were just working nonstop all the time. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. And so I think the desire to travel and see something else is really what sort of started my adventure outside of my small town
So
in Alsace.
you really have hospitality in your blood between gastronomy, the desire to travel, and now, you know, working in the hotel industry. I mean, that's you, you covered a lot of ground. But, and, you know, you were talking about commitment, looking at your parents, the commitment they had to their business.
Mhm.
What kind of commitment, you know, because I don't know, my parents were not in the food business. It requires a lot of time, 7 days a week, day, night. I mean, that's what it
Mhm.
takes, right? Restaurants is. And is there a
Yeah.
difference in the hotel business? Is there a difference you see between the hotel involvement and or restaurant involvement? And what kind of?
There is a difference between hotels and restaurants. Yes, I mean it's there are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of differences as well. I think that when you have a family business like my parents did, it's yet a little bit different than when you work for a company or somebody else who owns the business. Um, in addition to the fact that at the time when my parents were working, it was, you know, very, very different. They worked in a very different way than we do now. Things have evolved a lot and it just was a different level. Um, but I think in general, both the restaurant business and the hotel business require a lot of commitment. When you choose to take that path, you really have to be flexible and open to do whatever it takes to do what you need to do. Um, it's long hours, but I think if you love what you do, whether it be restaurants, hotels, or anything else, then you get rewarded in many, many ways.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it does require. It's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not an 8 to 4 job. It is
Not
something.
really.
Really.
Not really. I mean, it depends. It depends what you do, right? I mean, if you are, you know, if you choose to work at the front desk, you will work normally, generally, you will work your 8 hours, maybe sometimes a little bit more or a little bit less. But if you are wanting to um, grow within the industry and learn and take on more responsibilities, then obviously you can't look at you know, you cannot expect to have a 9 to 5 schedule every day, Monday to Friday, because that's just not how it works.
Is being a part of a local association is important when you want to succeed in the hotel industry. Like, you know, in San Francisco, we're lucky to have the hotel, San Francisco Hotel Council. We have, you know, CHLA, California Housing and Lodging Association. Is it important to be part of those associations? That it, what do you think of, you know, local association, local professional association, and the involvement to
Yes,
it?
it's very, very important, and I think very important because these associations are able to provide you with a lot of resources that perhaps you wouldn't have otherwise. They also have more of a voice, um, and they can take it to a higher level. So it's really, really important. And I think we're very lucky in San Francisco. We have just great people that are at the head of those associations and doing a lot of work on behalf of the hotels. Obviously, I think that right now, particularly right now, with everything that is going on and the challenges that we are having in the industry, it's even more important to be able to get heard via them and get their help on, resources that we need.
Okay, very good. So when you left France and you had a desire to travel, was your first job in the hotel industry, or did you work in other industry than the hotel industry when you left France for traveling?
I worked in slightly different, I think it was always the tourism industry. I worked for a travel agent, I worked for Club Med, I worked for various tourism corporations. But there was always sort of a un lien, like an attachment to the tourism and traveling and all of that. And I think one of the rewards of the industry is the fact that basically you can travel all over the world, and anywhere you go, you can pretty much, there usually would be a hotel or a place where you can work if that's your field. So it gives you this, it sort of opens up the world for you. Depends on how far how far you want to go.
So why the Bay Area? How did you arrive here? You traveled, you've been to different countries, different cities. How long have you been here in the Bay Area for? How many years? Doesn't have to be accurate. Roughly.
Yeah, probably around close to 30 years.
30 years in the Bay Area.
With probably 10 of those, a lot of coming and going, coming and leaving and coming back and going other places, etc. But yeah, about that, many years.
It's okay. So why the Bay Area? Why do you think the Bay Area is unique, or maybe it's not unique, but what is your attachment to the Bay Area? If you've been here for 30 years, most likely you like it.
Well, I mean, I think, the Bay Area is very unique and very special. Obviously, I am still here because I love living here. There are just a lot of incredible things about the Bay Area that I've just, that I think we're very lucky to live where we live. I think that I am still here nowadays because along the way I met my husband and he was from here, etc. But I could have potentially gone somewhere else, and I think there were other destinations that I was interested in, but life has its way of just happening and putting you in one place or another.
Got it. Very nice. So we talked about commitment earlier on, as far as what kind of qualities the hospitality industry requires. How would you describe, a person who wants to get involved in our industry needs to be committed. I mean, in order to succeed, long hours are going to be required. What other qualities do you think someone needs to have to be part of the hospitality industry? If you have, like 2 or 3 qualities, profile-wise, what it is, what should be the ideal candidate?
So I think one great quality, and I think not only for the industry, but I think it's one that definitely will help you. Being humble, very simple, right? I mean, to me, it seems like it's a simple thing, but I think that's almost a requirement because you may need to do some things or to work in some departments that perhaps you may not have chosen necessarily, but that will allow you to learn and to grow and to, it sort of gives you more opportunities for success. So I think no job is, I think every job is important. You know, if you need to wash dishes or make a bed or clean a bathroom, then that's what you do. And sometimes that's what you do even when you are much further, you know, along the way. But I think being humble is definitely one quality. That's very important. Another quality I think is unselfishness. So what I mean by that is that this is a job where you are, you're here to serve others, obviously our guests, but not just our guests, the people you work with, the people you work for. It's very much, it's a people business. So it's what you do. So you need to be able to be, it's just not about you, it's about others. And I think another one is you need to be able to work hard and play hard, as they say. I think that the rewards are just so much bigger when you do that. Yeah.
So with those three qualities that are needed, or that you should have to join the industry, you probably had problem to resolve or things that came up your way. How did this industry had a positive impact on you, or how did it change you? What did it change in you, in the way you are? What did it brought to you? What that the hotel industry, what that job and our environment makes you better at?
I mean, I think it makes you better at a lot of things. I think that, but again, I think that when you love what you do, then naturally it helps you be better and better at what you do. But I think one of the things that you learn is to solve problems. Because they are there, right? Every day, and they're always different. We work with people, for people, so there's always going to be some sort of a problem or an issue or something that needs to be resolved. So it teaches you to think on your feet and to come up with a solution. They don't always work, so then that teaches you to quickly revert to another option. So it just sort of teaches you to solve problems faster, I think. I think it teaches you to smile, but mostly when you don't feel like it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we all have bad days. We all have days where we don't want to be where we are, or we don't want to have to deal with anybody, but we have to.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may not feel like it, but you have to smile. So I think it teaches you to do that as well, a little bit more and a little bit better. And then I think taking risks as well. I think, when you make a decision to solve a problem, you take a risk. You sometimes don't know whether that's the right decision to make, but you have to make a decision. And so I think it pushes you to be committed to something that will be a win-win for the people that are, at risk.
I'm going to rebound when you were saying smiling. With my, experience going to properties on a daily basis, the number of time I'm walking by a front desk and I see some interactions that could happen between a guest who is upset because of, a delayed flight. A lot of things can go wrong when you arrive in a hotel. And, the amount of stress they have, and that poor person at the front desk who has to take it. And I cannot recount the number of times where I was looking at that person working at the front desk and thinking to myself, if it was me there, I don't know how I will keep on smiling and being polite and it's pretty impressive. You know, everybody in a hotel has a very important role, right? But
Absolutely.
taking the
Certainly,
heat, taking
certainly
the heat.
the people in the front line for sure. And yes, sometimes it is difficult to, sometimes you are faced with situations that haven't, don't want to make you smile, but it's an art, and you get better and better at it as you are dealing with things that come to you. But yeah.
So dealing with things that comes to you, we are dealing, all of us are dealing with something new for the last few weeks now. So it's not as new, but we are going through this COVID-19. And in San Francisco, we just got some emails this morning that came out, you know, as far as when the hotel will reopen. We are still waiting from the city to know if hotels will be on phase 4 or phase 3. Uh, how do you deal with the reopening of your property? You know, we are talking about, you know, solving problems. Well, that's a new problem for all of us. And it's really a first. There is no guidelines, there is no books to read on how to deal with this. How do you face it? How do you know, what is your interaction with your team, your ownership, your how, you know, just how do you go through it? And what is your take on this whole thing?
Um, well, I think yes, it's a tough situation for sure for everyone, and it will teach us to operate in a slightly different manner. I think first and foremost, of course, we have to keep in mind people's safety and comfort. But we will have to do things in a different way. I think that thankfully there are some resources out there that are very good to help us achieve that. But as we prepare for reopening, we look at what our cleaning standards are going to be. How are we going to make the guest experience as independent as possible, with minimum, with many touchless points throughout their experience. Um, and I think that it will be, we will need to retrain people. We will need to think about how we do things, because right now the natural thing is to not work that way. But we will need to do that, and it's doable. And it's just going to be, it's going to feel different, right? Very different. But it's what we need to do. And I think as an industry, we need to make people feel like they are safe when they come and stay at your hotel.
Yeah, with a standard textile, it's very clear that safe and clean is what we're looking at, I think, in our industry. That's trying to make guests feel at ease when checking in, and touchless is a big part of it. PPE program as well, all those protective equipment, probably new processes with housekeeping coming up. So yeah, it's, in San Francisco, I think we lost 95% of our business.
Yeah.
And we lost as well some pretty big conventions that got canceled. And I think the last one was one end of November that just recently got canceled. So it's definitely a time where neither you or I have seen this happen. I mean, it was bad in 08, it was bad, in 01, but here it's like, yeah, clearly.
New territory for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's difficult to grasp still. I think sometimes it's still hard to wrap your head around what's going on. But I think people are going to rise up to the challenge, and yeah, we will be doing things differently.
That- That's going to be a very interesting transition. Listen to that. That makes me laugh.
Now, I think things are going to be different, not just in the hospitality industry,
Yeah.
but in many other industries. I think it's going to be a new sort of a new era, right? People are going to work is going to be different. People are going to work differently.
Well, we are too. On our end, it's the same. I mean, it's a whole new thing, and we have to try to be creative and try to be
Yeah,
there. But,
yeah. But then, I think people are so resourceful. I think I've been amazed at some of the things that people do during this time and how creative they are and how resourceful they are. Um, yeah, I think that there is some good somewhere, right? So I try to look at that as much as possible.
well, I'm glad you said that because I think maybe that's why we are friends. But because we are positive, we even though it's not easy and financially for anyone, we have to make the best out of it. And like what we're doing today, that will not have happened or been done if
Hmm.
that situation will not be what it is today. I
Yeah,
will never have done this video conference with you because I see you. But I'm like, some people may be interested to know from people who have experience what is this industry about. So you have to be creative and coming up with good things.
yeah,
Even though the environment is not positive and you want to stay in your bed made by standard textile and cry the whole day, don't do this. It's not easy. But well, what can we do, right? It's we have to make the most out of it. So yeah, it's
yeah, yeah. And I think you have to be, we have to be a part of the solution in some ways. It's not a solution, but part of. We need to help along the way, make it better, any ways we can.
yeah, and you have a role as a general manager. I mean, I don't know how many people you have on staff when the situation was good, because Hotel Caza was opened. When was the opening day of Hotel Caza? When was the first day it opened?
November 14 of 2019.
When did you close? What day did you close?
March 19, 2020. So we did a pretty quick open and close scenario.
Mm.
You know, it is what it is.
Well, you're not going to beat Alain Piala. I don't know if you know Alain Piala.
No.
Okay, Alain Piala, uh, he used to be the general manager of the Marriott Marquis in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they opened the Marriott Marquis the day of the earthquake in
Yeah.
1989.
I
So
remember that earthquake. Were you here?
no, but I saw it on TV.
Yeah. It
And
was scary.
he opened that morning and they closed at night.
Wow.
So he said, well, I opened a hotel and closed it
The
the
same day.
same day.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough to beat. But yeah, so
Yeah.
as far as employee transition, I mean, what was your start? How many people did you have when you opened in November, even though it was kind of a soft opening, if I understand, or was it like a full opening? You did not have your restaurant yet or your bar yet open.
Uh, no. The team here is about just about 50, somewhere there. Um, the food and beverage option that we have here is mostly from a food standpoint, it's mostly a grab and go offering that we have, a very nice one. And then a bar, just a full bar.
Okay.
Um, so in some ways, I think as we reopen or as we get ready to reopen on the different sort of ways of doing things, we will be able to offer more of a independent self sort of experience to the traveler, which I think is a good thing. Um, and so I think that's a plus.
If you were not in the hospitality industry, but you've been in it for since you're almost born. So, but if not, okay, if not, what industry, which industry do you, or what what other job, career would you see yourself having? And it's never too late. I'm just just saying because you've been through
No,
that.
no, it's never too late, of course.
Be careful.
I don't know. I think I think I would have liked to be able to do something that where you can really, 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 really have an immediate impact on somebody's life. I think, yeah, doing something that would impact somebody right away in a good way, of course.
Would it be like
Together with the ability to travel, together with the ability to do something that has that is meaningful, just very meaningful.
Does it relate to healthcare, or will it be related to something like this?
Yeah, I think in the medical world, you look at those people today who work in that field, and they are just unbelievably incredible, and what they do is just amazing, and to be able to do something like that and help someone, I think is very, very special.
Very well. Hey, I'm going to do something very unusual, but I'm going to go back to the beginning of our interview.
Okay.
You know me. I'm going back. There is no script. Okay, guys? There is no... We're not following any script. We're just going for it. I remember the first time I met you. And at the time, I was working for a company with two other French gentlemen, Renaud and Guy, and we had a green cleaning chemical product. And those products were safe for housekeepers to use and safe for the guests. And it was called Orbeco.
Yes,
and
I remember.
Remember?
Mm.
And we were based in San Francisco, so we were looking for a hotel group to talk to, and we heard of Joie de Vivre, GDV, and I'm like, well, if we, as French people, cannot handle Joie de Vivre, there's something not right. So we looked into the company, we contacted Chip Conley at the time, and we contacted the director of operation, and we contacted Carlin Holloman as well. And for some reason, we learned about you. And never know. And we were like, well, Isabelle Matter. Like, wow, that sounds French or European. I mean, let's look more closely. And we find out that you were French. So I was like, well, because we were brand new. We were in the chemical industry. You had like Ecolab, you had Clorox, you had those big names.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we were Orbeco. Like
yes.
What is that?
Yes.
And it is, as you know, in the hotel business, there is a lot of new product that goes through that channel, a lot of new things, and a lot of companies are going to you for you to test those products, to try out those products. And it was hard. We really had a hard time for hotels to try out our product. And actually, James Lin gave us a chance as well. We were at the Hotel Rex at the same time. But you were the first person that did try the product. And at the time, you were in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
You were at the
Moore Park.
The Moore Park Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I really remember the first time we met. And I want to thank you for giving us a chance.
I left a good impression.
Yes. As a customer, isn't that supposed to be the reverse? So I'm just trying to let people know where our relationship comes from. Yeah. And that was back, oh my God, in 2000 and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
2004, 5, 6,
Something like that. Yeah.
7, something
Long
like that.
time.
But voilà, so just we know each other for a long time, and you know, a GM has to, general manager has to be ready to resolve problem, and I think the big side of it is to be open to new things, new product, new idea coming to you. And how do you handle all those requests? How can you make a choice to decide to try something? Because you have as well to answer to owners, to a brand sometimes. So how do you, and your time is limited, you know, you don't have, your days are like everybody else. Uh, and how do you select, how do you make sure to try things new and, you know, to,
Yeah. Well, um, I mean, I think you base your decisions on different factors, right? I think the first one for me is probably um, the vendor who approaches me, depending on how the vendor approaches me. And again, that's a relationship thing. It's a relational, right? It's between that person, the first contact, the first conversation. May make me want to explore some more, or may not make me want to do that. So, I mean, I think that in your world, what you do is the same as what we do. You are here to serve your clients, and you learn to approach them in the same manner we do our guests. So, you know, it's almost kind of all a big circle. And then sometimes, you know, sometimes depending on the company you work for, sometimes there are specific vendors that a company will be using, and you sort of follow those guidelines. And sometimes something comes your way and it's a little different or more interesting, or you want to take a risk and try it. You can do that, and then you can introduce it to other people if it works. So it really depends. But to me, I think that no matter how busy you are, you always have to give the person who reaches out to you the politeness of responding, even if it's a no, right? But you have to sort of just close that loop, whether it be an invitation to come back or a no, thank you, not at this time. Because that's where, again, it's, you know, you deal with people, and relationships are so very important.
is there a do or don'ts for vendors, or like, you know, like big no-nos, don't do it, don't, is
Yeah,
there something that upset you?
I think so. I think for me, it's you got to know the right balance of being there, but not being there too much, not pushing it too much, but just enough so that you keep my interest, or so that you keep yourself in my ears and remind me that you're here if I need you or if I want to discuss it. So it's the right balance of being there, but not being there too much for you.
Do you see vendors that comes to you letting you know, uh, I think we can help you and we can improve your business because you may have this issue. Let's say we have the COVID-19, you have a vendor saying, hey, you know, you're going to reopen soon. We just want to let you know that we have a PPE program available. Do you respond more to it because they are in your shoes and they seem to know what you're going through? Like, you know, if a vendor tries to put themselves into your own shoes as a GM saying, we can help you with this problem that you may have but did not tell them about, maybe doing some homework can help, maybe.
Well, I mean, I think again, and I think that everybody, in terms of vendors out there that, you know, help hotels with supplies, etc., everybody has sort of responded to the situation we're in pretty quickly, and almost everybody has PPE programs, etc., that they're offering. Um, so generally, if you have a long-lasting relationship with somebody, naturally you will stay with that person, and, you know, as long as they provide what you now need. Um, and there aren't enough differences in terms of PPE program, for example. They might be a little bit different here and there from one vendor to another, but not big enough differences to make you say, no, you know, I want to work with him or I want to work with her. Generally, your suppliers are going to provide you with those, are going to carry those programs. I think the response in your world, the response to your clients has been fast and good. So
Always.
right, you're ready. You're ready.
Too many answers. I don't have time to answer my emails. Too many requests.
Yeah.
Okay, Isabelle, we are. I have a few direct questions about San Francisco itself or the Bay Area.
Sure.
And it's going to be personal. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite dish that you had in the Bay Area? To any restaurant. We have a lot of different kind of restaurants in the Bay Area. Is there what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite? Yeah, if there is one.
Yeah, there isn't. I mean, you know, I could name a few French, of course, restaurants, but I just, so I love to eat, I love food, right? And I pretty much like everything. There's very little I don't like. There's probably a few things I don't like, but very little. And I like to experiment new things as well. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we're so lucky here too, is that we have restaurants and cuisine from all over the world and so many good ones. I can't really tell you which one is my favorite one. I don't have a favorite one. I just, yeah, I just enjoy the variety of great food that we have here.
Do you have a favorite drink that comes from the Bay Area? I think you have one.
Well, there's several, but it's true that we have pretty close by here. If I need to escape for a little bit, I can get a pretty good Irish coffee pretty quickly, 2 blocks away.
We love the Irish.
That's right. But no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think wine would be, I'm going to fall back to wine in terms of beverage of choice.
Very good. Is there a special place, a special spot you like in San Francisco or the Bay Area where if you have family coming in or friends coming in, that, I mean, the Golden Gate Bridge probably is a must. I mean, it's like Paris without the Eiffel Tower, you have to go there.
Yeah.
But I would say without the Golden Gate Bridge, what will be, is there a spot that you bring your guests to, your friends, family, when they come in town and say, oh, you have to see this?
Well, I mean, so, you know, aside the iconic places, as you mentioned, Golden Gate Bridge being one of them, there are a lot of spots in the city that you can only discover if you're walking the streets. And there's a lot of really neat little areas that you would not know of unless you really just walked up and down the hills and took turns and, you know, take streets that you haven't been to before. There's a lot to discover in the city. It's a small city, but there's a lot to discover.
Well, yes, and I cannot agree more with you. That's a great feel of San Francisco. It's a small city. Every time people think it's a big city, it's a small city where we can walk. We can take scooter. We can rent, you know, those electrical scooters, right?
Yeah.
We can take those electrical bike. We can bike around the city, and that makes it very European in a way because it has a feel where you can go around without taking a car, which is nice.
Neighborhoods. It's a walkable city. Yeah, there's a lot of really neat places.
Can I ask you something? What is the heart behind you? Can you tell us what is this heart that you have in your background? Because some people may not know what this is about.
It's the San Francisco heart. This one is at Union Square. You probably know we had a few of those hearts a little bit all over, and this one is particularly pretty, I think. I like it.
So yeah, so if you come to San Francisco, you're gonna find it in many different places. It has different color, different theme to it. I don't know how many they have actually. Do you know how many of those hearts they have throughout the city?
I don't know exactly. No, I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Well, if someone
But
knows, you can type.
similarly to here at the wharf, we have the seals, and they're cool too. All different colors and different looks. They're pretty neat.
Yes, Hotel Caza is on Fisherman's Wharf. Okay, guys, so it's right there. There is a beautiful walk to do from your hotel to the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a fantastic walk. You're walking by the bay.
Yeah, it's
You're walking Fort Mason, and you go through Chrissy Field. It's a very nice walk. I think, how long do you think it will take walking from your hotel to the Golden Gate Bridge?
So from my hotel to, for example, from my hotel to Chrissy Field, it's probably about a good hour, something like that, right?
Isabelle, it's 1 hour with or without the Irish coffee?
Without. With Irish coffee, it's a lot faster.
Don't fall on the bay, okay? The bay is dangerous, so walk straight.
But yeah, no, but it's beautiful. I do that walk quite often, and above Fort Mason, there's a park there, and it's just really, really lovely.
Very good. So Hotel Caza, if you guys come to San Francisco, when it's going to be reopened, we don't know yet, but it should be anytime soon. I mean.
Yeah, it should be. We cross our fingers, we hope.
July, August, we don't know, but we'll let you know. If you come to San Francisco, this hotel has been brandly renovated, beautiful rooms, great location. The general manager there is amazing. Now you know her. And she said she will respond to any request. You have witnesses now, Isabelle.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Pierre. Great.
Oh la la.
And voilà, so don't hesitate to check out their website. The website is Hotel Caza.
Yes.
Caza.com. Actually, what I can try to do quickly is to change my background. Do I have this is the logo. I don't know if you guys can see this. You need to move up.
Left and right.
But that's the Hotel Caza. Caza. Hotel Caza. So make sure to come, and if you want to stop by, say hi to Isabelle. Maybe she's very busy. Okay, she cannot take care of all of you.
Come by and see me anytime. We'll go on a little walk along the water.
If you guys have any questions, please, you can write some comments. We're going to put this on LinkedIn. So anything you have, any questions, I'll be happy to help out with it. And if needs be, we'll reach out to Isabelle. Any suggestions on how we should do our next one, we'll take it as well. Isabelle, thank you very much for your time. We talked for an hour, and I told you it was for 40 minutes. So
it was my pleasure. Might be long for the listeners, but my pleasure.
Well, it has to start somewhere. If we don't have pleasure, then no one will have pleasure. We have to be selfish sometimes.
We do.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the time.
Merci. I see you soon.
Yeah.
And I see you at your property when they open, and we.
Irish coffee before that.
Irish coffee before that. Little walk, and yes, no, definitely one. Actually, we take two. One when we go there, and one to go for the way back.
Sounds good.
Merci, Isa.
Ciao. Bye.
À bientôt. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye, bye.